The movie begins with a group of the world's wealthy elite who have grown so bored of their privileged lives that they engage in a disturbing conversation. One of them, named Avina, casually discusses how the hunt for poor, helpless victims will soon begin, indicating that they plan to kill people they see as useless to society. Another member, upset by the conversation, warns against discussing hunting and prisoners online to avoid causing trouble. They quickly end the conversation. The scene shifts to a plane where a stewardess serves a drink to a passenger. However, as she pours, she notices one of the hypnotized victims waking up in confusion, unaware of his situation. It is revealed that the elite group is transporting their victims on the plane to a palace where they plan to hunt them for sport. One of the group members, showing cruelty, brutally handles the man and orders him to be restrained, but the victim fights back and kills one of the captors with a broken glass. A woman appears behind him and with ruthless efficiency stabs him in the eye with her boot, rendering him unable to move. She orders the remaining captors to place the victim with the others at the back of the plane. The injured man dies from his wounds, and as the group of victims stirs, one of them, a woman, awakens to find herself tied up. She notices another victim near a lake who seems eerily calm, as though she's familiar with what's happening. The victims are gathered in a square where a box appears. A man approaches it cautiously, worried it might be a trap. When he opens it, he discovers a small pig and an assortment of weapons. The group rushes to arm themselves, and the calm woman finds a key to their chains and begins freeing the others. One of the men, named Dawn, gives her a gun, even though she has no experience with weapons. Another victim reassures her and teaches her how to shoot. Suddenly, the group is attacked from all sides and chaos erupts. The woman who just acquired the gun is shot in the head and disintegrates in an explosion. One of the others attempts to flee but is caught in a horrific trap. Another person manages to help her, but they both step on mines and they explode. The woman is left without limbs, and in agony she grabs a gun and ends her life to escape her suffering. The remaining man reaches a fence, where 3 more survivors join him. They manage to climb over, hoping to escape. He explains that they are trapped in the same horrific situation discussed in a viral internet conspiracy, a group of elite individuals who hunt people for sport. As they move forward, one of the group members is struck by an arrow, and the others help him, but he sacrifices himself so the others can escape. The remaining survivors head for a gas station they spot on the road, where an old man and a woman assume they're there to rob them. The man explains that they've been kidnapped and asks for their location. The woman tells them they are in Arkansas, as each victim was taken from a different state. The man calls the police, reporting the situation, and asks them to track the phone. The authorities promise to rescue them, but the man feels something is off. Suddenly, the woman starts choking and collapses, gasping for air. She dies as gas masks-wearing assailants burst in, trapping them in a deadly gas-filled room. Meanwhile, Avina and the old woman discuss their plans, unaware that Crystal, one of the survivors, is quietly making her move. When Crystal returns with money to buy cigarettes, she confronts the woman, knocks her out, and takes her gun. She kills the woman, telling her that cigarettes in Arkansas aren't this expensive. Crystal then kills the old man, retrieving the gun and preparing for her next move. Outside, she discovers a car, but it's rigged with explosives. As she opens the door, it detonates. She grabs the walkie-talkie and hides, overhearing Avina and her group discuss their next steps, even as a drone sent to monitor the situation is shot down. Afraid that someone may be eavesdropping, Avina ends the communication. Gary, a fellow survivor, appears, and Crystal realizes he too is one of the victims being hunted. He has written numerous articles exposing the elite's game of hunting people for sport. The two decide to team up, but as they walk, a train approaches. They make a desperate dash to board it, with Crystal helping Gary at the last moment. Inside the train, they encounter a group of refugees. Gary grows suspicious, suspecting they might be elite members in disguise, and tries to act, but before he can, the train is stopped by armed soldiers. The refugees are detained, and Gary, frantic, tries to explain that these are the hunters, but the soldiers don't understand him. One of the refugees speaks to Gary, offering him a chance to escape before they capture him. Gary's fears are confirmed and he decides to act, planting a bomb on one of the refugees, which detonates and kills an elite hunter. The army, now aware of the danger, decides to take them to a camp for further interrogation. Crystal sits down with an officer and recounts her ordeal, explaining that she was drugged while dining at a restaurant, only to wake up in her current location. From what she has seen, she deduces that she's in Croatia. The officer leaves to bring someone who managed to escape, but when the individual arrives, he is alone. He explains that after opening a box, he was able to flee. They converse briefly, but Crystal remains tight-lipped. Soon, an American embassy official arrives to take them to safety. While Crystal is initially relieved, her unease grows as the official begins discussing the reasons behind the elite's hunting of people, even expressing some sympathy for them. It becomes clear to Crystal that this is another trap. She strikes the official, throwing him out of the vehicle, and returns to her seat. In a fit of rage, she steps on his head, ensuring his death. As Crystal searches through the car, she finds Gary's lifeless body with a knife plunged into his neck. She contemplates taking the car and escaping with Crystal, but after reflecting on the injustice they've endured, she tells him they must fight to win this war. She finds a map that leads to the palace where Avina's followers are, the very place the fake official had planned to take them. Determined to finish what they started, Crystal and her ally prepare for the next phase. Meanwhile, in their hideout, the elite wait eagerly for the official to return with Crystal and Dahoon, ready to enjoy the hunt before killing them. One of them heads to the bathroom, only to find Dahoon holding their pet pig. Crystal appears behind him and slaughters him, throwing the pig into the hideout. The others are thrown into a panic as the pig is shot at them but doesn't kill anyone. Before they can react, Crystal strikes, shooting one of them in the head and continuing her assault, eliminating them one by one. It's clear that these hunters are far from professional, and Crystal's combat prowess is unmatched. As she dispatches them, she faces off against a woman who uses arrows. After a brutal fight, Crystal overpowers her, but not before the archer injures her. In retaliation, Crystal uses an iron rod to subdue the archer. With the last of the elite dead, Crystal is left to ponder why the archer fought so relentlessly. The answer is simple. They take pleasure in killing. Without hesitation, Crystal ends the archer's life with a shot to the head, but as the woman dies, she mutters something about fate, leaving Crystal to wonder if this is truly the end of her journey. Suddenly, they face off with the remaining soldier. Crystal demands that he drop his weapon or she will kill him. He hesitates, but before he can act, Crystal kills him. She then tells Avina that she has eliminated all of her followers. Avina, from her palace, declares that it's time for them to meet. Crystal takes a moment to sit next to the soldier's body and confronts him. He reveals that he had been forced to train the elite hunters because of a debt, and when she presses him, he tells her the location of Avina's palace. He warns her that Avina has been preparing for this confrontation for months, and that she's a formidable opponent. The narrative shifts back to a year before, in Avina's company, where a major crisis unfolds. Her assistant informs her that one of her associates' accounts was hacked, leaking all communications, including a conversation where Avina discusses the upcoming hunt. The leak causes significant damage to her company's reputation. Although Avina is dismissed from her managerial role, she is not concerned, for she knows exactly who is behind the leak: Crystal. Fueled by hatred, Avina resolves to hunt her down personally. She gathers her colleagues and identifies Crystal as their next target. Cut back to Crystal arriving at the palace, where Avina taunts her over a speaker, informing her that explosives are rigged beneath her feet. Avina offers Crystal the chance to surrender her weapons in exchange for entering the palace alive. Reluctantly, Crystal complies, and the gates open. Avina, with a sinister smile, reveals she knows everything about Crystal's past, including the tragic deaths of her parents. She claims that what she and her followers are doing is not wrong, and that the hunting of people was a result of the very public discussions on the internet, which Crystal and others initiated. Crystal, undeterred, counters that the palace is exactly as described, and Avina is shocked to realize Crystal is not the person she thought she was. In a fierce battle, Crystal grabs a knife and lunges at Avina, but Avina, well-trained in combat, manages to defend herself. The two engage in a brutal fight, with Avina beginning to tire as she realizes Crystal's strength and determination. Desperate, Avina grabs a gun and pursues Crystal outside. In the ensuing struggle, Crystal seizes a rope to escape but ends up falling to the ground with Avina. As Avina stabs her repeatedly, Crystal manages to turn the tables, stabbing Avina in the stomach before both women collapse, dying in a pool of their own blood. As they lie there, Avina asks Crystal if she was the one who published the article exposing her. Crystal simply responds that Avina kidnapped the wrong person. With Avina's last breath, she succumbs to her wounds. Crystal, weakened but resolute, stands up and tends to her injuries. She wears Avina's dress, boards a plane, and tells the pilot and stewardess that she has killed them all because they tried to kill her. Terrified, they comply, and Crystal instructs the pilot to take them wherever she wishes. Once aboard, Crystal sits with the stewardess and shares a meal, reflecting on the killings. When the stewardess asks her how it felt to kill, Crystal simply replies, "It was very fun." The film ends, leaving the audience to contemplate the twisted journey of survival, vengeance, and the consequences of playing the hunter's game.